Get £20 in risk-free bets ahead of the new Premier League season when you join SPK. That's money back in cash on your first £20 of losses. Well worth a go. Hello and welcome to episode 40 of Touchline Talk with Odds Changer. As usual, I'm joined by the one and only football writer, broadcaster and general man in the know, Dean Jones, to discuss all the latest news and gossip from the world of football. Only one place to start this week, Dean. No surprise, Lionel Messi is dominating the headlines, not just the sports headlines, also the news headlines, with his departure from Barcelona and seemingly on his way to Paris Saint-Germain. It's an end of an era at Barcelona for Messi, who's leaving the club after 21 years. Really sad to see this, Dean. And what's your whole take on the whole situation of seeing Messi leave the Camp Nou for a new challenge?
I mean, it's crazy. Like, his final game for Barcelona was played in a 2-1 defeat to Celta Vigo in front of an empty stadium. That's not the way it was supposed to end. Think back to like Iniesta, like sat in the centre circle, like reflecting and stuff like that. And Messi, we haven't got that farewell, but he might be going back yet because he's joining PSG, and I reckon there's a good chance next season PSG are playing Barcelona. They're not in the same group; they'll meet in the knockouts, and so Messi's still going to get that chance, I reckon, to go back to Camp Nou at some point. And I hope he does. I really hope he does, because he deserves that moment and that occasion. Obviously, PSG was the best fit for him right now. They're pretty much the only club that can afford him. And he's got like 4 or 5 of his good mates there as well. So it was kind of a shoo-in, wasn't it? It's a shame we couldn't have something a bit more romantic. Messi at Fulham, I'd have taken him all day long. But yeah, let's see what he can do. You know, it's going to be nice, to be honest, to see him in a different environment with a different challenge. I know people mock Liga about the quality of it and call it a farmers league. But PSG didn't win it last season, and they should do now. They just signed Donnarumma, Ramos, Hakimi, Wijnaldum, and now Messi. I mean, it's a hell of a transfer window for them. How they managed to get by on financial fair play, we'll find out in a couple of years whether there's repercussions to this. But for now, it's sad in one sense, yeah, of course. But I think it's also going to be really, really interesting to see how this plays out for Messi and to give us all something new to watch.
Yeah, as you said, PSG have definitely won the transfer window this summer with the signings that they've made. Messi on a free, Sergio Ramos on a free, Donnarumma on a free, Gini Wijnaldum on a free also, and then Hakimi spent a bit of money on him to sign him from Inter Milan. Yeah. And Neymar also signed a new deal as well. So yeah, brilliant transfer window for them. PSG now 16-5 favourites with SPK to win the Champions League. Do you think Lionel Messi is the final piece in the jigsaw for PSG to go on and win Europe's biggest prize?
I mean, you just don't know, do you? I mean, all you can say is that if they don't win it, then it has to be seen as a disappointment. But all they can really do is get to that final. I mean, that once you get into a final, who knows what can happen? But there is going to be huge pressure on them in every Champions League match because of the expectation that is now on them. And if they don't do it with this cast of players, then they're never going to do it. So it really is all or nothing now for PSG. They've gone for it big time. They've got 2 years to get this done, because after that, there might be a bit of fallout from all this.
Yeah, I think their lawyers will be busy trying to sort out the FFP when it does come down to it, how they've afforded this deal for Lionel Messi. But looking forward to seeing him in a new challenge, a new league, and in a new shirt, which will probably be weird for a lot of Barcelona fans to see him in that PSG blue shirt as well. Another player who still could be in a new shirt come the end of the transfer window is Harry Kane. Again, this story is dominating the headlines. His future at Tottenham. Manchester City have openly confirmed they would like to sign him. Pep Guardiola says a deal is there to be done if Tottenham are willing to do it. Obviously, Harry Kane came out and released a statement last week, Dean, saying that his return to training was always planned to be at the weekends, and saying that there was no issue. He didn't refuse to return to training and everything else. So trying to mend a few bridges there, Harry Kane, with that statement, maybe with the Spurs fans and everything else. So this week he's due to link up with his teammates again once he serves his quarantine at Hotspur Lodge. So do you think he could possibly play against Manchester City this weekend in the opening weekend of the Premier League?
No, I don't think he can play this weekend. And he won't be involved for a couple of weeks anyway. While he's only just about to return to training, so he's nowhere near ready for it. I think I said on here that I didn't expect Kane back either. And my information had always been that really Monday this week was going to be his first day back. And that was the case for quite a few of the England players. And you saw at Man City that their English players that have played in that final were coming back into the fold on Monday. And that was always what I was told to expect of Kane. So it wasn't a complete surprise to me to hear him come out and say that. Look, he was always going to have to come up with something as well to fix the idea that he'd gone on strike on that Monday. Those couple of days were chaos, but the news straight away out of Kane's camp was, this is being overblown. We'll say something in a few days, because right now there's no point getting involved in this. Let it blow over, and then we'll fix it. There could be another storm to come. Of course there could, because this isn't over. Harry Kane still wants to leave Man City, and he's very reliant now on that bid coming. Otherwise, he's staying at Tottenham. Still might stay at Tottenham because they're very stubborn about this situation. But it's kind of out of Kane's hands for right now, because he needs Man City to come forward with more money. And I'm not sure how high they'll be able to go.
Yeah, well, obviously Tottenham meet Man City this weekend, so that means the hierarchy from both clubs will be in contact with each other. So bound to be discussions about this potential move for Harry Kane. But we all know Daniel Levy drives a hard bargain and hasn't taken too well the way Kane's gone about this transfer saga so far this summer. You got to be thinking, Jack Grealish has gone to City now, 100 million. Harry Kane, probably 140. They'll be looking for him, Tottenham, for any deal to happen here.
Yeah, I mean, as well, and Lukaku deal going through as well, just under 100 million. So it's just another reason for Levy to stand firm over his stance, really, that he's got the England captain, he's got a guy that's absolutely proven in the Premier League year after year in terms of his goal output, and now assists as well, coming into his game. So I don't see him budging. I think 150 million at least is what it's going to take. And if Man City can't do it, then they're going into the new season without a number 9, basically. They've put all their eggs into this. They didn't really pursue Haaland once they saw it was unlikely, and they just kept going with Kane. They thought they would be able to get it done. It's been quite a while now. We're heading basically 3 months of this pursuit, and they still haven't got there. So are they going to get there in the next 2 weeks or so? It's going to be tricky. And if they don't, then you just wonder, like, how does this affect their preparation for the season? Obviously, they can still rotate that front line and play with a false 9 or Gabby Jesus. But if they went for Kane, they were willing to pay 100 million for Kane. They clearly feel that they needed that to take that step to either retain the Premier League, go on and win the Champions League, whatever it might be. So it will, in some shape or form, affect their preparation for the new season.
Yeah, Man City still favourites 4-5 with the SPK to retain their Premier League title this year. But if they went to get Kane, there would be question marks over who is going to score the goals for Man City, even though they did do it last year, as you said, without a regular number 9 with Aguero's injury problems and everything else. But on Spurs, they're obviously looking around the market to see if there's any potential replacements there for Harry Kane. LAUTARO Martinez was the name mentioned over the weekend. A bit of a surprise link, really. I think in some places, not many people expected that one. Talk that they had an offer accepted by Inter Milan, but now Inter Milan have gone back on that a bit. Now that Romelu Lukaku is seemingly on his way to Chelsea, they're bringing in that money from Lukaku sales, so they want to try and keep hold of LAUTARO Martinez. What's your latest take on this situation? Will he be an Inter player come the end of the window, or if Kane does go, Spurs will step up their efforts to try and bring the Argentine to the club?
Yeah, I think I'd still probably err on the side of LAUTARO staying at Inter as it stands right now. I had the call on Friday night about Tottenham going for LAUTARO, and the thing I found hardest to believe about it was that Tottenham would put forward a bid of over £60 million straight off the bat for a forward, because typically what we would see with Tottenham is that at least 1 or 2 bids trying to undercut them. But it seems perhaps under Fabio Paratici that they're going to have a different approach to signings, and it's very bold to go in with an offer like that. I think the story escalated a little bit beyond what it was. I'm not sure Inter were going to accept that offer because they knew that Lukaku was going, and they really can't lose both of those players, ideally. The problem they've got is that the club is a bit of a mess inside, and players do want to get out of there while they can, while they've got opportunities. Lautaro's got 2 years left on his contract. As it stands, he's not looking to renew. So he's got his eyes open, and he's always fancied coming to the Premier League. I was told that Tottenham have had their eyes on Lautaro for 2 years now. They've been in close contact with his agency, and kind of just wanted to be kept involved with any offers from other clubs, how his mindset was, if he was thinking of leaving. But that was always likely to be as a replacement for Harry Kane. Now, this bid's come about because they want him to play alongside Harry Kane. Tottenham will start the season with a 4-3-3, but they want to have more fluidity throughout the season and be able to play a front two. They've obviously got Son, they've got Kane at the moment. They need somebody else coming into that fold, and that's the guy it looks like that they're arrowing in on. But at the moment, they're being stubborn, and they really don't want to lose Lautaro. And I think that he might find it a bit harder to get out than Lukaku did.
Yeah, it looks like Chelsea could do their old rivals Spurs another blow to the face here by getting the Lukaku deal done, and that would mean that LAUTARO Martinez would end up staying at Inter Milan this summer as well. So just looking at Spurs, obviously they've been a bit busier in the transfer window. Brought in Romero as well from Atalanta. Got Spurs at 47-10 to finish in the top four. Dean, do you fancy Nuno can get them back in that top four with the deals that he's so far done? And if he can keep Harry Kane, what a massive boost that would be to their chances of getting back into the Champions League.
Well, that's exactly why they want to keep him. That is Levy's stance on this. Is his best chance of getting back into that top four is with Harry Kane, not without him. Like, whoever you replace him with is not going to give you what Harry Kane's brought as an all-round package. Romero's a very good signing. If Kane goes, I don't think that they'll have what it takes to get into that top four. With him, maybe, but United, Liverpool, Chelsea, City is what everybody's going to predict as their top four. And breaking into that seems harder than ever, really, when you look at the squads of those four teams. But Tottenham need to be involved in that conversation. So do Arsenal, though. Leicester think they should be as well. So it's going to be a really competitive season.
Yeah, a lot of teams, as you said, trying to get into that top four race. As you mentioned, there Arsenal. We all know they've spent a bit of money this summer to try and close the gap on their rivals, along with Leicester City. They're both 22-5 with SPK to finish in the top four. Do you give Arsenal much chance of getting in that top four and bringing in a creative midfielder? Is that going to be the key for Arteta if they are to have a good transfer window? The likes of James Maddison, Martin Odegaard have all been linked. Houssem Aouar from Lyon as well has also been mentioned as a possible signing for Arsenal. Been impressed so far with their signings, and do you think they need much more to try and get into that top four?
I think it's been a good window for them so far, but I think they are still missing that one signing that makes you really stand up and pay attention and think, okay, that changes their season. Could be James Maddison. Obviously, they've had a sniff around Lautaro as well and have looked at 5-6 other strikers over the past few months. Clearly, they want a forward and a creative midfielder. The kind of brackets that they're looking at right now, I'd be surprised if they got both, but I would expect that they need one of those to come through in these last 2 weeks or so. So I think they're going to be busy, and it's definitely a situation that I'm watching closely to see what they can get done. But they've been a little bit frustrated so far in trying to discover what is possible for Arsenal right now without European football, trying to promise players what they can do. Lautaro is interested in Arsenal. No firm offers come in, but I think he would go there, to be honest, from what I'm told. Maddison, again, is proving difficult because they've got to pay up. If they want him, they've got to give Leicester, what they want. And close to 70 million is obviously a big outlay. Maybe they go back into Odegaard. I mean, I personally see Odegaard as a deal that should be easier than Maddison, probably easier than Lautaro as well. So I'm not quite sure why they're not back on that. And someone suggested to me yesterday that they might actually go back down that path. So we'll see. It's a big season for Arteta. This is the time we can really judge him. There's no more excuses. We can't say, well, it's not his team. We can't say, well, it's a tricky time in the pandemic. We can't, well, there's no fan. All the excuses he's had before. Well, this pretty much is his team now. And he's had enough time to get his feet under the table and show us the great coach that we've been told that he is. And I believe that he obviously is, because some very highly thought of people have said that. But now we need to see it. And if it doesn't happen, it could turn out to be his last season at Arsenal. And of course, for that to happen, he really needs Aubameyang to become himself again and start delivering goals as well.
Yeah, it's a big few weeks ahead for Arsenal with the Premier League starting this weekend. They've got a toughish start as well to the season as well. And as you said, got just a couple of weeks left in this transfer window to try and get those signings that Mikel Arteta is demanding, whether that's a creative attacking midfielder and possibly also a striker as well. But I think a lot of Arsenal's business is going to probably depend on who they can get out the door at the Emirates as well, Dean. The likes of Hector Bellerin, Alexander Lacazette, and looks like Joe Willock is on his way to Arsenal, to Newcastle, as well. So that'll bring much needed revenue into the transfer kitty for Arteta maybe to spend on that creative midfielder that he wants.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if Bellerin goes, they'll need a right back, I imagine. So they'll still have to reinvest there, and it's a position they've been looking at anyway, and lining up people for when that time comes. Lacazette, they haven't had any finders for recently. Like they've been on the market, like pushing him towards people, and hasn't really been anyone looking to buy. Obviously, he's on a big contract. He's happy in London, happy at Arsenal. I was watching his pre-season game the other day against Tottenham, and he looks very hungry and eager to prove a point. He's shooting from pretty much every time he gets the ball in and around the box. So I think maybe he's got a bit between his teeth and thinks, hang on, you don't need to replace me. I'm still good enough. And maybe he is. Maybe he's going to get that opportunity to prove it at the weekend. If he's still the lead striker at the club, then goes into opening day against the newly promoted Brentford and gets a couple of goals there. Maybe Arsenal think, hang on, we don't need to buy anybody. We've got a solution here. Let's just go for the midfielder. But we'll have to see. They've got some big decisions to make.
Yeah, as you said, big decisions for Arsenal to make, and we've already seen them make some big decisions with the signing of Ben White from Brighton for £50 million. We'll see how he gets on as an Arsenal player this season. Talking of Brighton, Dean, still to reinvest that money from the Ben White deal so far. Would expect the Seagulls to be busy in these final few weeks of the transfer window. Lots of links with a striker, Odsonne-Edouard from Celtic, who is seemingly looking out of Celtic Park. Also, Eddie Nketiah of Arsenal, who is well down the pecking order in Mikel Arteta's plans. And Liverpool defender Nat Phillips has been mentioned as a straight replacement for Ben White as well. Brighton made progress under Graham Potter last season. But would you worry about them this season, maybe a second season syndrome for the manager, that they might struggle? Do you have any concerns at Brighton if they don't get a few deals done before the window closes, they could find themselves in a relegation battle?
They just need a goal scorer. And I think if they get that goal scorer that they're looking for, then they will be fine. I think the margins last season for Brighton was so fine, and they had a lot of bad luck, and they came so close to some results that would have made their league position look so different. And I know that sounds easy to say, but it genuinely was the case. Like, they didn't, in performance-wise, have a bad season. It's just that the results weren't reflected, and that's what they need to change. And the easiest way to change that is to find somebody that can get you that extra goal in games, that gives you that bit of a bumper, and the other team score a late goal. Okay, you've got a draw, you haven't lost, or you've drawn or whatever, and you can get those wins that really matter to you at the end of the season. And that's what they're looking for. And it's so hard to find that person. They are trying. That's basically when they did the Ben White deal, I was told, like, the priority here is to get the striker in. We have to get somebody that we can guarantee us a certain number of goals across the season. And now the time they're going to try and do that. The problem that they'll have is that they've hit a period in the transfer market when fees are only going up from here, and that's what they've now got to contend with. They've got to negotiate terms to get players at reasonable value, and I think that's going to prove tricky, but they've got to get someone through the door.
Yeah, that Ben White deal doesn't help them, because all the clubs with these strikers that they're interested in will know that Brighton have got £50 million in their pockets ready to spend, so the price tags are probably going to go up on their transfer targets as well. But yeah, from what I'm hearing, Odsonne-Edouard could be a real one, real goer for Brighton. I think his representatives are in talks with the club, so if a deal can be agreed, we could maybe see Edouard make the move down to Brighton. Do you think he could be a success in the Premier League, Dean?
I do, yeah. I want to see it, to be honest. I mean, it's been talked about for so long that I really want to see him make the jump. I think he was pretty set on going to Leicester at one stage, and I think because they got such a good deal on Patson Daka that, you know, he was, I think, very disappointed to find out that deal was going ahead, and it kind of left him in limbo. So he'll be very keen, I'm sure, to get that deal through. Like you say, if his representatives are in talks right now, then they'll be pushing to get it done, because he wants to leave Celtic. He wants to test himself in the Premier League, and he's got all the credentials there to be that difference maker. I think he could be a really good signing.
Yeah, I like the thoughts behind Brighton, maybe to try and get this Edward deal done? As I said, on his day, he's looked a top-class performer for Celtic, so I think he's gone a bit stale probably over the last 18 months with everything that's gone up at Celtic. So maybe the time is right now for him to come down to the Premier League and show his true worth. One side that's been pretty quiet in the transfer window so far this summer, Dean, is Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp's come out and admitted that he hopes to make 1 or 2 signings before the window slams shut at the end of August, but that would probably mean he will have to get a few players out the door to raise some funds for those deals. It seems like Shaqiri could be edging closer to an exit. Lyon are interested in him, while I'm hearing West Ham and Southampton both monitoring Divock Origi's situation, so maybe they might make a move for the Belgian. If Liverpool were to maybe move on a couple of those players, you'd expect them to try and bring in a midfielder to replace Gini Wijnaldum?
Yeah, I think that's what's missing. It's a difficult one to gauge Liverpool right now because their season was strange, wasn't it? At one point, look, they wouldn't even make top 4 of all the injuries that they'd had, and they still managed to get in there and finish 3rd in the end. So they've had a decent season there, considering all of the storylines that played out across the season of trying to, defend their title, which they just couldn't do. And Van Dijk coming in and having a new defensive partner in Konaté is important, but there's just 2 things you're looking for. One is, that Wijnaldum replacement, and one is another forward. I'm just interested to see what they do in that front line. Salah and Mane are the guys that you're relying on, and that's been the case now season after season, just hoping they can get out there again. And at some point, these guys are going to burn out. I think there's AFCON to come as well within this season, and that's going to play a part, potentially losing those guys for 4 weeks. Like, that's something that they have to be prepared for. It's a big blow when the dates for that were changed and brought into the middle of the season again for Jurgen Klopp. So they do want to forward. I think Roberto Firmino, he's got his work cut out to prove that he's part of that front 3, and I think we'll see a lot more of Jota again this season. Yeah. But around that, like, you look at what Man City have got in terms of attacking options, and Chelsea, particularly those 2 teams, they've got like 7, 8 options in attack now. And Liverpool don't have that depth. And I think that that's something that they're probably going to have to lean on, because I don't see that Minamino's up to that quite yet. Origi, if they hold on to him, would be up to that. So there's just that slight difference right now. And I think Liverpool need to close the gap. Let's see what they do, because they have been pretty clear in the fact they need to get a couple of faces out to bring people in. Obviously, as well, you need to balance out the squad with overseas players and homegrown players, and that's something they're having to be quite careful about as well, making sure they've got the homegrown talent in there. So it's a big couple of weeks for Liverpool. I do think they'll make at least 1 sign-in. But yeah, FSG are going to be feeling the force of those fans, I think, if nothing exciting happens, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of angry Liverpool fans out there if there isn't a replacement brought in for Gini Wijnaldum at least. But yeah, Liverpool, as you mentioned, they'd probably squad depth not as strong as the other teams, their rivals for the Premier League title. We've got Liverpool 29-5 with SPK to go on and win the title this year after a poor title defence last year. But there are 11. The first 11's as strong as anything in the Premier League on their day, as you said. That front 3, if they're on form and can find their old form, they're going to be right up there, you would think. But it's who they bring in to maybe provide a replacement for those front 3. Adama Traore's been mentioned, players like that. And then for midfield, keep hearing links of Renato Sanchez and Sal Niguez. But I think Liverpool desperately need the money to go and do these deals. And if they don't get it, it's just going to leave Jurgen Klopp even more frustrated.
Yeah, and to be honest, you're only talking about £35 million players there. Like, you would imagine that Liverpool, on the back of the success they've had in the past few years, would have that kind of cash available. And it's probably frustrating as a fan to see that they're not even able to push ahead with that. Say Adama Traore, who's looking for a move in his career and to get to take that next step away. And I don't know where he's going to land yet, but if, say, you're a Liverpool fan, you see him end up at Leeds, for example, like that would be frustrating, because he could be a really interesting option for Liverpool to have in that side, because he's quite versatile as well and could play a couple of different positions, and obviously adds ridiculous pace and strength to the side, as well as that end product. So let's see what they can get done. But what they're asking for, what Jurgen Klopp's looking for, doesn't to me seem to be that much. He should just be getting it. And I think We've seen him frustrated so many times in the past year that this year I think is key for Jurgen Klopp. They need to back him. They need to show that they are willing to give him what it takes to win the Premier League again, to get back in that conversation of winning the Champions League as well. Because otherwise, he might start to lose motivation and be like, what am I striving for here? Like, I've given you some of the best years of your history. If I'm going to get back there, I need to know that you're behind me, giving me the resources that Man City are getting, that Chelsea are getting, that Man United are getting.
Yeah, he's seen their rivals go and spend big this year. City have broken the transfer record for Jack Grealish. Romelu Lukaku is on his way back to Chelsea for a big money deal, while Man United have laid out big for Jadon Sancho and Rafael Varane already this summer. So, yeah, it's been big money moves at the top end of the Premier League. Dean, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Who's your signing of the summer so far in the Prem?
Oh, it's interesting you say Varane there. I mean, the deal's not actually signed off yet because we've been waiting for his contract to go through. He's been in quarantine so he could do his medical and all the rest of it. But signing Rafael Varane at around £40 million, let's just put it around there, is an unbelievable transfer. When you think that Man United came into this window looking for a centre-back, they signed up Eric Bailly at the end of last season just to make sure they still had him around. And then they were like, okay, should we go for Jules Koundé? Should we go for Pau Torres? Like, where are we looking here? And they've ended up with Rafael Varane. It's an unbelievable signing that I think changes the feeling and the belief within that team again. I think that he can have an impact similar to what Bruno Fernandes had. I mean, Fernandes was at one end of the field, and I think that Varane just brings that to the defence, and the partnership of him and Harry Maguire, I think, could be fantastic. It's a surprise. It's the surprise element that does it for me, because this was not really being talked about. There was inclinations that he might leave Madrid, but you never expected it to happen. You thought he'd sign a new deal, and he's joined United for less than Arsenal have signed Ben White for. It's just a brilliant get, isn't it? And it could just give you that extra hope of actually going on to win the title. I don't think they'll quite have what it takes, but it does give you that extra hope when you finished last season second and suddenly you're adding Sancho and Varane to the ranks. It's really nice business.
Definitely takes them up another level, getting a proven winner like Rafael Varane. And so, brilliant piece of business from Manchester United. It looks bringing in the Frenchman. My signing of the summer so far was one that was kept very much under the radar by the two clubs. Nobody really saw it coming, and they caught everybody on the hop last week when Aston Villa announced the signing of Danny Ings from Southampton. I think most people probably expected Danny Ings to move to Tottenham maybe, or even a Man City if Man City didn't get their preferred number 9 targets. But quite a coup for Villa, really, this one, I think. Getting Danny Ings in, 25 million. Not bad when you look at some of the fees going around these days. He's 29, Danny Ings, so he is coming into the peak of his career right now. And as I said, I think he's on his day. He's one of the best forwards in the Premier League. He's not just a goal scorer, he can also create goals as well. And his record at Southampton, 41 goals in 94 games. That's pretty good going, I think, by anybody's reckoning when you look at it like that. And I think he could probably count himself a bit unlucky not to be in that England squad for the Euros. Just going there in Gareth Southgate's plan. So I'm sure Villa will be getting a hungry Danny Ings. He's joining an ambitious club as well, who are making some good moves in the transfer market, with Buendia and Leon Bailey also arriving as well. So I think them two could provide the ammunition for Danny Ings this season, and we could see Danny Ings fire Villa to a good season, and maybe even a push for a top 6 finish as well. So for me, Danny Ings, signing of the summer so far, but we've still got a couple of weeks for more signings to happen, and we might have to change our minds, Dean, before the transfer window closes, and who we think signing of the summer will be. But let's see what happens. But I think 2 good shouts there, Varane and Danny Ings, and we look forward to seeing them at their respective new clubs this season. Right, that's just for another week here on Touchline Talk. We'll be back next week for more insight on the latest news and gossip on the world of transfers when just the window will have 2 weeks left open.